how did you start gaming? Why did you start gaming? When did that originally start for you? We're live, we're hot, we're here.
I played the Atari.
Wow.
My dad had his original Atari.
First experiences I had playing games was playing Super Mario.
I like where we're at. Squad based, the teamwork.
The competitiveness between teammates to be on the top. Okay, I want to see somebody else on top. We sharpen each other, and that's the drive I like it.
What do you think our parents were thinking at that time, allowing us as 12, 13, 14-year-old kids to literally turn their living rooms, their basements, their bedrooms into arcades? To the Gamers Enquirer podcast. We're live, we're hot, we're here. Another episode of Gamers Enquirer podcast. For those of you who have been plugging into the podcast over the past month or two, we again really appreciate you tuning in, sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. This week we have a special 2-guest combo hitting us. A couple of my long-term friends, and I'd like to say family members. In the past episodes, you've heard me talk about some of my gaming squad mates when it comes to matchmaking and competition. A lot of what I've shared in the past has been about, one-player games, role-playing games, solo efforts when it comes to gaming. But I have a whole other side of my gaming life when it comes to matchmaking and competition. And these two guys represent a larger family of people that I play with, that I go to battle with in the gaming space. Here we got Mr. Kelvin Lipscomb and Mr. Christopher Humans. Again, longtime friends. We've been gaming for 15, 20 years. Guys, thanks for joining us on the show. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, man.
Good.
I appreciate you having me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. I have to say, it's been a long time coming. We've had a lot of trash talking over the years. We've had a lot of, ups and downs, but, the fact that we're still going to war together after all this time, that says a lot about our friendship, but it also says a lot of how many virtual bodies we've laid to rest in the past 2 decades. Me. Yeah, we've definitely done a lot of work. So again, thanks for joining. I want to open up the show a little bit about getting you guys an opportunity to share kind of your gaming stomping grounds, how you guys got started gaming. Well, Kelvin, why don't we open up with you, man? How did you start gaming? Why did you start gaming? When did that originally start for you?
Appreciate it, Terry. It all started with me. My dad got me into it. My dad was super big on the Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, and we started young. I think I was 4, maybe 5, and Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt was our game. It was real competitive with my dad, and I have 4 other siblings. It was a competition every day. Let's get Duck Hunt going.
So Duck Hunt was on the regular Nintendo, right? It was. Yeah. I think they may have had a version of that on the Super Nintendo, but at least I've had, I have older cousins that I saw Duck Hunt and a couple other games. They had the 12 gauge shotgun attachment for that. They had the pistol attachment for that.
The NES, the CRT TVs.
I mean,
days.
that was as close. That was virtual reality before virtual reality. People don't realize.
Yeah.
And back in like the late 80s, early 90s, to be able to not only hook up your console to a TV and play it, but to point a gun at the screen and knock down animals
and
was
not damage your TV.
yeah, that was revolutionary. So
Like, dang.
I completely understand and appreciate that time, and I get why that got you hooked. It got the rest of us hooked as well. What were some of the first games that you played, Chris?
One of the big games in our house was the old Power Pad. You know, that's that gray pad with the red and blue circles on it, and you get to
Yeah,
racing that 100-meter dash, that 110 hurdle. You
yeah.
know, it was a battle in our household to see who's gonna win every night. You know, we'd tear up the floor trying to win that game, the triple jump, whatever it was. We would play that thing all night, and I think that was revolutionary back in that time.
So
Just to be able to actively play.
So you got to educate me because I never messed with the power pad. So the power pad was an accessory item on like the
Oh yeah,
Nintendo console.
Yeah.
yeah.
The-
On the NES,
What game did you use it on?
the
What game?
game was called Power Pad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
had, like you would race different people. You started out against the turtle, and then you raced the hare, and then the cheetah, then the bobcat. Like you knew you were getting somewhere. You got to the jaguar, like it was go time, and you physically had to run in place and tear it up. Every time your foot hit, that was your guy moving on the screen.
Man,
But, I mean, it was lit.
yeah.
Man, that's crazy because in previous shows, I told people that like the first experiences I had playing games was playing Super Mario on the Super Nintendo, and that was more of one player role playing games. So my initial experiences was one player role playing games. You guys' initial experiences was in the bed of competition.
Yeah.
Kelvin was talking about the first thing that he did with a game was shoot. That was the first thing that he did. That says a lot. Before he got into anything else, he was picking up a gun and shooting with it. And you, with the power pad, was in the bed of competition as well. Not necessarily, with shooting, but still competing with that accessory, with that game, that application. So we're representing, three different beginnings, all very, very good ones, and definitely worthwhile. I really appreciate that. So, but the first consoles that you guys played was on Nintendo, correct?
Actually, my very first console that I ever played, it wasn't a fan of mine. I played the Atari. My
Wow.
dad had his original Atari, and that's what evolved us into the NES.
Okay.
The Atari, it was one of those deals. You got your joystick, and you're playing the little tennis game with the little line that bounces back and catches the ball, stuff
Pong,
like that.
Pong.
Yeah,
Was it?
Pong.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I think there was a version of Pac-Man on there also, and
Oh yeah.
it was just one of those ordeals. The Atari wasn't my favorite, but when the NES came out, it was a game changer for me. And that's more or less where I started the NES. That's why I say the NES is my first, my true love.
Okay.
But the Atari is before the NES, and I definitely played that one.
Did you mess around with the Atari as well, Chris? Or
So
you?
we had a Odyssey 2000, I think it was called. It was similar to the Atari, but I played the NES before I ever even played that thing. We actually going through stuff in the house one day. We're like, "Mom, what is this?" And she pulls it out. She's like, "Oh, that's the beginning." We played around with that. And we're like, "Oh no, this is trash." So we moved right back to the NES, and that was our thing. But we did play Pac-Man a lot on that thing, though. Like I just reinstalled Pac-Man on my TV, 2 weeks ago. Like
Yeah.
it's a classic game that just it won't quit. It's fun.
Yeah, Pac-Man, that's one of those games that, regardless of what gaming generation you're in, you're going to enjoy that game, and they keep making versions of that for each new platform that comes out. So yeah, games like that don't go away. Games like Tetris don't go away. You know,
Yeah.
they last the test of time. That's really cool. So all right, so you guys graduated from kind of those first generation consoles. Uh,
Mhm.
did you ever get into Super Nintendo? Were you more Sega people? Did you skip a generation and go straight to PlayStation? What was your experiences with that, Chris? Why don't you start there?
I was definitely a Sega guy. Like that, the Sega, the Dreamcast, the Cube. No, sorry, that's Nintendo. But that Sega was it. You know, we had Sonic on there, and that was like my first single player game that really captivated me. Like I wanted to beat it every day. You know, catch all those rings, power up, and zoom through it. Like it going fast was my thing. So I really enjoyed that.
I think
And then they also
Sonic.
had NBA Jam.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, is it the shoes? You know what I mean? Like, just it had great games. Controller was also a big thing for me.
yeah. In like a previous show, I had mentioned like during the early to mid 90s, there it was really just down to two consoles. Either you were a Super Nintendo player, or you were a Sega player. And both consoles were great, but they had completely different personalities. With Super Nintendo, it was really about a good-hearted family and friend experience, and that's all well and good. But when you played Sega, it was about competition. When you played Sega, it was about attitude. Even the leading console characters that represented those consoles. With Super Nintendo, you had Mario. He's smiling, he's saving the princess. It's all good. With Sonic for Sega,
Yeah,
he was crossing his arms. He had
swag.
one eyebrow up. He had bravado. He had a style to him that you just couldn't appreciate unless you really played it. So that's really cool. Lip, what were your initial what were the consoles that you played during that time period?
Um, well, I dabbled a little bit with both,
Okay.
but ultimately I veered towards Nintendo, Super
Okay.
Nintendo.
Okay.
Um, I started with Sega, Sonic the Hedgehog, like Chris said, and then um, we just and the NBA Jam. That
Yeah.
was also a goodie.
Yeah.
NES pulled me in with the Super Nintendo simply because you got into Mario Kart,
Yeah.
all those good games. What was another?
And
Killer
Mark.
Instinct.
Oh wow, you did that.
Killer Instinct
You
was
did
my
that.
favorite on the Super
I knew
Nintendo.
you were gonna say something like that, man. I knew you were
I,
gonna pull that out of your hat. So okay, all right. We
That's
talk about
yeah.
competition. Obviously, Super Mario Kart. That was I.
Yeah.
I've gotten in plenty of fights with my brother over
yes,
that game.
yes,
Um, Great game, and still holds
I
up to
still
this
play it.
day. Yeah, it still holds up to this day, especially on a Nintendo Switch. That game will never die. Um, but you also brought up fighting games, in particular Killer Instinct, and during that time, you had, I would say, the top two being Mortal Kombat and Street
Yes.
Fighter. They both had their niche. Street Fighter was really good on a lot of its, cart. I want to say more of like a cartoony,
right,
over exaggerated power, through Blanca and Ryu's Hadouken. Really fun game, and everybody played it across the world when arcades were a thing. Mortal Kombat, a little bit more darker. Those finishing moves, you
Ugh.
experience, curse words and blood and
Or
stuff
for
like
the
that.
first time.
Yeah, I
yeah,
was I was telling people in the past, you had to turn your volume down way low when you're playing those games, because you don't want your parents in the other room to hear you hear you playing those games and see and watch you see experiencing that as a 5, 6, 7 year old kid, because
right,
otherwise they'll turn the game back into the store. But Killer Instinct was special because Killer Instinct was about those combos.
Yes.
I mean,
That's what it
you
was.
would have combos with that game that would go up into like the hundreds, and it would
Yes.
just never stop. The guy would be dead for 5 minutes, and you're still
Combo.
pop 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 pop, and to hear the commentator once you were done,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
yell something crazy like fantastic, super combo, 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 combo. It would just be, it would be so satisfying. I love that game. To this day, I can't remember all of the characters' names from that game, but I do remember how satisfying it was having those combos in Killer Instinct. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
There was another game that was really popular during that time that didn't
Play
really.
Fighters.
You said Clay Fighters?
Yeah.
I never played Clay Fighters.
Oh man, that one was a classic.
Well,
One of the best fighting games of the generation. Like it was.
Clay Fighters. You got to describe that
believe-
game. I was thinking about a different one.
All the characters, are different. They're obviously clay, clay fighters. But like some of the combos those guys could do, man, was just insane. I can't remember the dude's name. He was like a pink blob, but like his body would just start different pieces of his
Oh
body.
yeah,
would start
I remember
hitting
that
you.
guy. I know you're talking about. I remember that guy.
It was one of the most fantastic fighting games. I still want to get a copy of that game again.
Yeah, my brother, he really liked this game. It was called, I think it was called like Final Fight or something like that.
I don't know if I played that one.
Yeah, it featured this. It featured this really huge guy. His name was Hagar, and he would wear these suspenders, and one would be off a little bit, and you would fight in a ring. And what made that game special was, yeah, you could fight, one on one, but there was also a campaign to that game too. So there was a story that would go. That would coincide with that game as well. That game I thought would hold up, through the generations, but I think it only made it as far as maybe PlayStation 1 and it kind of lost traction. But there's a lot of really good fighting games back in those days. But yeah, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, they're still around. And I'd say those are our top two, that have lasted the test of time. Okay, so you guys did this you played Super Nintendo, Kelvin. Chris, you were more of a Sega guy. Then in 96, 97, late 90s time period is when the Nintendo 64 came out, the PlayStation 1 came out. Sega was still around with the Dreamcast and Sega CD, but you started to see Sega in particular start to lose some of its, luster that people were really, experiencing the Sega console for. Did you guys stick with Sega? Did you move on to Nintendo 64 and PlayStation? What were your experiences during that time?
I
got a
I'm more or
PS1.
less- Oh yeah, PS1. I had both.
Okay.
I got the PS1 mainly for Crash Bandicoot.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with Crash Bandicoot. But Nintendo 64, that's when the great age of 007 came. And huge fan of 007. And that was my most popular game on the 64.
Absolutely. And Chris, you got the PlayStation 1, you said?
Yeah, absolutely. And like he said, Crash Bandicoot was the best adventure game there was out, right? Like that, it was unstoppable. You couldn't stop playing it. It's too much fun. So
Yeah.
I got that, and then not too long after, started begging mom for a Nintendo 64. Didn't know the greatness of GoldenEye when I made my first request as a kid, but quickly found out that game used to ruin lives,
Yeah.
ruin friendships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay up all night. Mom, I'm not coming home. Yes, you are.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break real fast, and then we'll stick around with both Kelvin and Chris and talk a little bit more about video games, and then we'll eventually share our thoughts on gaming while parenting and those things. So you guys sit tight, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. Hey guys, it's Terry here. Hope you're enjoying the content. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. Thanks. Let's get back to the show. We're back. Lip went and got some chips because he was getting hungry. I should have got some popcorn or something. But okay, so now 64 happened, PlayStation happened. Then we kind of experience, the turn of the century, 2000, 2001, and another new player from a gaming manufacturing standpoint came along in the form of Xbox, Microsoft Xbox. And you guys remember having those big, huge, fat, clunky Xbox controllers, not really sure what to do with your hands with them, but the leading the leading player with that was this new first-person shooter called Halo Combat Evolved. Did you guys have that game? Did you guys play that game? What were your initial reactions to the Xbox in general? If you did pick that up, Kelvin, we can start with you, sir.
Unfortunately, I missed the first evolution of Halo. I missed that one.
Okay.
The game that I got on it, Splinter Cell.
Interesting. Well, Splinter Cell was really revolutionary in that it was one of the first games that exaggerated sneaking and leveraging of the shadows in order to get a mission accomplished. A lot of games of that nature up to that point was about, hey, you enter a room, you kill all the enemies, and you move on to the next room. You do the same thing all over again, but you sneak. You use little gadgets and devices to do that. Really good game. I think they're going to do a remake of that entire franchise over the next couple of years. Splinter Cell is definitely the top of a lot of people's lists in terms of gaming on the Xbox. Chris, what about you? Were you a Halo guy as well, or what?
Was I a Halo guy? Halo was life.
Right.
I woke up and I breathed, and every ounce of air that came into my body told me to go pick up a controller and get them.
Yeah.
That game, like I mastered it. I beat the campaign repeatedly. It never got old. And then
how did you find out about Halo? Did you just happen upon it at the store? Did you bundle the purchase of a Microsoft with the Halo game? Did a friend tell you about it? How did you catch the Halo bug?
Halo came with my Xbox.
Okay.
It was the first game I played. I don't even know if I bought another game for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like I also bought Splinter Cell. I tried it out, but there was no reason. Halo was all you needed. It was all that there was.
Well, what made Halo really special, and I've talked about this in previous shows, obviously the campaign was, you felt like you were literally saving the universe. It was so epic. Yeah. It was Highlander-esque, and that made it special. But what brought it into the stratosphere was its matchmaking, because it was the first console, I believe, where you could link your console up with 4 other consoles on the same Ethernet hub, and you're able to play with 15 other live people. The only other platform that came close to being able to do that was on PC, and we didn't grow up playing PC. so we couldn't appreciate that really as much. We grew up on console, and Xbox allowed you to do that. In fact, Chris, you and I in particular were one of the squad mates, one of the original 16, I would say, out of the O'Fallon, Illinois community to get together and play each other that way. Those are some special moments. Your house in particular was one of the original battle arenas for Halo 1. We've spent many of nights there going at it. My house was another pillar of the O'Fallon, Illinois gaming community, another as well as a couple other buddies of ours. What do you think our parents were thinking at that time, allowing us as 12, 13, 14-year-old kids to literally turn their living rooms, their basements, their bedrooms into arcades? What are your thoughts about that time?
So I already know my mom is not a fan. I don't know if you recall the day we broke the couch in the house. We had too many people on it, and we got cords running from the living room to the bedrooms to the kitchen. Everybody's bringing TVs and their Xboxes in, running the power bill up.
Yeah.
But she allowed it to happen because, it was a positive thing. We're all getting together and doing something that's, not hanging out on the street or on the corner or something like that.
Yeah.
We're all having fun together in the house and really enjoying our time. So those were some of the greatest moments of my life back then.
Absolutely, man. And we not only gamed together, but we were on a lot of sports teams together. I recall many times, we would play like a football game in high school or whatever. We'd win a game and we didn't go out, partying. We went to each other's houses to play Halo. We had girlfriends and we prioritized playing the game above maintaining our relationship with our girlfriends, man. That will always stick with me in terms of our memory, because being there for each other as we sharpened each other's iron. Gaming was more important than some, convenient relationship that we had in high school with some girls. So I thought that was really cool too. So we eventually graduated high school. We eventually, became young men. We started to play other games while also exploring college, exploring our professions. To the tune of Call of Duty. And Chris, you and I's relationship went from Halo and gaming with our friends on Halo to now you becoming friends with our buddy Kelvin here. He gets entered into the mix and Call of Duty starts to take over. Did you what was the first, I guess, Call of Duty game that you can recall being the game that all of us started to play together? Or if Kelvin, if you remember as well.
Oh man, what was that?
For me, when I was introduced to all you guys, I think was around Modern Warfare 2 era. That's when I started gaming with Chris. Terry, I think you came in a little bit later around Modern Warfare 3.
No, man, I was actually.
Was it 2? Was it a 2?
If my memory serves me correctly, it was Call of Duty, the one that came out, because Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2010. There was a Call of Duty that came out in like 08, 09. And I remember particular because Kid Cudi's Day and Night song was really popular, and we were bumping that. I was like a sophomore in college at the time, and we were bumping that a lot while playing zombies. I don't know if it was World at War. I don't know which one it was, but it only had, I think, one zombie map.
Yeah, it was
time.
World at War.
Okay, was it World at War? You know, the magic box was in one spot. Everybody knew. You know,
there we go.
It was that I don't. Was that the first zombie Call of Duty game, or was there one that came before then?
I believe it.
I don't know if there was one before, but that was the beginning.
That was the beginning, right? And I wasn't a consistent squad member between, you know, you Kelvin, and a couple other people who aren't on the show, but I would be a periodic, you know, player. Because I don't know, I was playing with it with, you know, in Chicago. I was going to college in Chicago at NIU, and we would play locally with our buddy Justin, you know, Alex, and a couple guys from, you know, their football team, and so we would play locally. But you guys were already playing it as well, and so while we were doing that, eventually Modern Warfare 2 came out, and then that's when I started being into, you know, consistently being into the mix. And I just remember, hey, this is a cool way to compete, not necessarily against other people, but it was special because you had to coordinate how you fought, you know, the enemy AI in order to reach, you know, level 10, level 20, level 30. And people would be cut from our team if they couldn't perform.
Yeah.
It was very cutthroat.
I've been cut a few times from the team.
I thought it was unique that, you know, over time, you know, everybody became, you know, when we're talking about zombies, a specialist, you know.
Yeah.
You gave Cole the ray gun. You didn't hold it from him, you know. You gave, you know, you gave him the big machine gun and said, you know, go to work.
I think it was the HK
and the RPK.
Yeah, the RPK for sure. Love those guys.
We really became a machine.
Yeah.
And knew exactly what to do. I thought that was pretty cool.
And I know we'll talk about it later in the show a little bit, but I think those experiences, you know, in that controlled environment, gaming together against the zombies, those were kind of practice for when we started to coordinate playing together on other games like Rainbow Six Siege, these battle royale games that are out now. Those were sort of how we sharpened each other internally before we started to really give other people the business later on in our gaming years. So those are really awesome. We don't play zombies too much now, just because, you know, the time it takes to get to those high levels. Yeah. You know, we're all fathers.
6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah, you really had to give. I mean, people think that like a Destiny raid took a long time, which in some cases it did, you know, 3, 4, 5 hours. These Call of Duty zombie games, you really had to play that for. It was like a World of Warcraft raid. Like it was next level. So yeah, we ain't got that kind of time anymore.
I still remember when you ordered the pizza.
Yeah.
Do you recall?
Yeah, I was living in I had a 1-bedroom apartment at the time out in, I think, California. And, you know, we didn't have time to cook. We had to get to the next round. But you had to satisfy the needs of being a human being. You had to eat. So I'd be in the middle of picking up a gun or pack a punch in a gun with one hand, and with another hand calling in a pizza. You know, by the time the round was over, because the round would take so long, the pizza would be here. I didn't have time to answer the door. I tell the pizza guy, "Hey, just leave it right there at the front. The cash is right there. I'll talk to you later. Thank you."
Oh man.
And
Oh.
yeah, those were special times, man. You couldn't afford to just get up and leave. You couldn't do
No.
that. You had to finish it. I think actually now would be a good time to pause real quick, take another break, and then we'll get into the last bit of our conversation. So you guys sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, what's up, Gamers Enquirer family? I'm here to announce that I'm starting a podcast where I'm going to be talking about everything under the sun about gaming. We're going to have guests like streamers, fellow gamers, esports pros, devs in the industry, and maybe even you watching right now could come on board with me to talk about what we love, video games. And we're back. Okay, so hey, gentlemen, great talk so far. Again, we've got Mr. Kelvin Lipscomb and Christopher Humans here hanging out on Gamers Enquirer podcast. So, gentlemen, we talked a lot about our gaming roots, where you went from playing games as a kid to even as a young man. Now, as we're, post 2022, 2020 era, now it's 2023. We're still in there. We're still out there playing. But now we've got even more responsibilities. Not only are we taking care of ourselves, but we're taking care of our families as well. I guess, Chris, we can maybe start with you. How do you juggle your time so that you can still be the best dad, best significant other as possible, best professional as possible, but also get it in for gaming? How do you juggle your time, sir?
So it's a little bit of a chess match trying to figure out when the game. It used to be so easy. You get off work and that's all there is. So now you got to kind of balance it out with the activities, the dance, tumbling, whatever, what have you. Cook dinner, watch some TV with the girlfriend, and then once everybody's to bed, that's pretty much that's where I go down to the basement and get the work done. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, likewise. Go ahead.
I just choose the game, once everybody else is out, and that's my quiet time, my time to myself, and I go to work.
Yeah, I'm with you. Once the kids are asleep is when I get to kind of go at it. Even then, a while back, before I started the channel and stuff like that, the challenge was justifying to my wife, like, hey, it still takes energy for you to game, and you won't have energy in the morning. How can you justify doing that? Well, it's still, even though it takes up some of your energy in terms of your waking energy, it also helps your mental health. Helps you. You're all day dealing with the stresses of a job, the stresses of being an adult and paying bills and stuff like that. You need that time as men to kind of isolate yourself and spend time with with your friends. And the one thing that I always say is, hey, we don't go out to the club, we don't go drinking and doing all these crazy things that will take up all of our time, resources, and even more of our energy. This is an opportunity for us to still be within arm's reach of our loved ones if we need them, while also still scratching that competition itch, giving us the needed escape that we need. So, I think it's very healthy. Kelvin, how do you juggle your time, sir?
For me, it's more or less I have to fill out the permission slip and slip it over to the wife. As far as work, I would be one of those guys that would prefer to do it when everybody's asleep or whatnot. But the only thing holding me back from that is basically my work schedule. I start at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's just more or less I try to keep my gaming towards the end of the week. When things start to slow down at work, I can start a little bit later.
Yeah.
Still got to have that permission slip. I got to let the wife know in advance. I do have a 1-year-old son. I try to make as much time for him as possible. He's finally starting to walk and everything. My daughter's 10. She has her basketball schedules that she has to keep and cheer and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's more or less just balancing, make that time for family. But when everything's all calmed down
Yeah.
and you have a little free time, you just kind of look at the wife, hey, babe, the fellas are on, and then she'll roll her eyes at me and tell them she'll give me that thing. Tell your friends I don't like them. I know, but I'm going.
Yeah,
But
she sounds like my wife as well. I think, but we all need someone in our life to kind of help us, have that perspective too, because
right,
we could easily get into it and abuse, that time. We need someone to kind of reel us back in.
right,
But I also take pride in the
100%.
fact I take a lot of pride in the fact of being a dad as well. I've got two boys. They'll be able to, someday look back on these shows and some of the streams I've done and think, oh yeah, my dad likes video games too, and who knows, there could be another generation of of kids that I get to usher in and let them know the importance of gaming and finding that balance. So I look forward to that period of my life where I get to take the camera off me and maybe even someday put the camera on them, and that's exciting to think about. Want to go ahead and maybe wrap up with a couple questions that I have for you guys. In terms of where the matchmaking games are at right now. So, you have these battle royale games like PUBG, Player Unknown's Battleground. You have Call of Duty Warzone.
Apex.
You have Apex Legends. You've got all these games. You also have Rainbow Six, which we play together. Games like Valorant. What do you guys value in a lot of games now that are still competition focused, but also quite far removed from our original stomping grounds of Halo and the first entries of Call of Duty? Chris, why don't you start with responding to that?
So I like where we're at, squad based, the teamwork, putting our heads together and defeating the enemy. I think that's better. I think that's more suited to our squad, our team, our friendship. Like working together. It is obviously fun to every once in a while get on Halo and drop your friends off real quick, But working as a squad and moving through, winning a game of Warzone, winning a game of Apex, the feeling of winning as a team is undescribable. So that I hope that games continue to push that teamwork, that squad type mentality, type gameplay. So that's where I'm at with gaming
There's
right
something to be said about our original experiences playing sports together, basketball, football, those times, and winning together, losing together, but also winning together, doing whatever we did to have a common goal to accomplish success together. Even though we don't have that, we do have video games to get a small example of that on a daily basis, weekly basis. However frequent we play. I think that scratches that itch very well. So I would agree with you, Chris. Matchmaking in a way that is very that focuses on team rather than just a solo effort. We get more out of that these days. I agree with you. Kelvin, how about yourself? Are there do you echo those same sentiments, or are there other games that you like to play, or other ways to play those said games that you enjoy these days?
I like. I pretty much agree with Chris here. Just to touch up on it a little bit, the one thing that I like about the way the industry is now is more or less you have that competitive edge with just your squad against another squad or multiple squads, but the competitiveness between teammates to be on the top. Okay, I want to see somebody else on top. We sharpen each other, and that's the drive I like in it. You know, we more or less we play against the other team, but we compete with each other, and
Yeah.
that was makes us a strong squad, good friends. We know how we mesh together. We
Yeah.
know everybody's strengths when we come to game together, and that's what I like about it. It's a great ordeal. I like to keep that drive going. You know,
I agree with you completely, man. Yeah, we get to experience gaming together, team focus, all that good stuff. But even though we're on the same team, doesn't necessarily mean we won't check each other on poor gameplay. We will still, compare and address good performance and bad performance, and people can still at any point get cut from the team. So that's not going away.
I mean, I think I experienced a lot of bottom of the barrel Terry moments.
We all have. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's a part of what makes our relationship so special, and that's why we're able to keep gaming together and experience success gaming together, and we'll continue to do so in the future. I guess we can wrap up there, guys. I want to again say thank you so much for hopping on the show, hanging out, sharing your thoughts about all things gaming, but in particular, the aspect of competition in video games. Your thoughts and insight have been extremely valuable, and I'm looking forward to the next opportunity we get to chat together, whether on this podcast platform or maybe during a Gamers Enquirer stream or something like that. So again, just want to say thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on here.
No, yeah, thanks for having us. Look forward to coming back.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up there, guys. Thank you for checking out the Gamers Enquirer podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and ring that notification bell for future updates and notifications on future shows. Thanks for joining, and we will catch you guys in the next video. All right, guys, thank you for joining me in this podcast. If you want to come on board with me in this podcast, join our Discord community where we talk about everything gaming. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and follow my socials in the links below to be notified when the next episode uploads. We'll catch you in the next one.